Welcome back to Operation Evil. This is episode 127. I am titling this episode Fit of Rage or Freak Accident, the case of Scarlett Vickers' death. I'm your host, Nyoka.
I'm your co-host, Megan.
This is a recent case that I happened to come across, and it took place in the UK. Like it literally just wrapped up. So I thought this would be a good time to do something current and to get your take on it. And Megan doesn't even know what I'm about to cover right now at
No
all.
idea.
And
No,
I want it
none.
this way because I really want your opinion and everyone's opinion on what they think about this. So, all right. On July 5th, 2024, 50-year-old Simon Vickers, father of 14-year-old daughter Scarlett Vickers, was accused of stabbing his daughter to death in the family kitchen. So, what happened that night? Simon told the police that they were just mucking around. I guess that's what they say over there, mucking around, throwing objects at each other while cooking. Both parents, Simon Vickers and Sarah Hall, were charged with murder and taken to separate police stations. Sarah was given the news at the police station that her daughter had died. She cried, "No, no, please no, my little girl." She was given a sedative,
It's late
and
at night.
yeah, I know, right?
I forgive you.
Thank you. And I was in FEMA training all day, but that's besides the point. Okay. And put into a cell where she would cry herself to sleep. Initially, Simon told police that he must have accidentally thrown the knife at Scarlett, thinking that he has something else in his hand. Giving evidence, he said that that was not what had happened and that it may have been a freak accident with him accidentally swiping the knife along a work surface and it somehow going into her chest. And after he was arrested, he told police, quote, "I must be the unluckiest man alive," end quote.
Uh,
Weird, right?
yeah.
Both defendants had their case sent to the Crown Court, where they appeared dressed in a gray police issued clothing. And Georgia Snowden, who was representing 44-year-old Sarah Hall, Scarlett's mother, told the court, quote, "There is a dispute over the facts of the case, and my client is absolutely distraught," end quote. The judge, Stephen Hudd, told Simon and Sarah, quote, "The offense of murder is one which can only be heard at Crown Court. I am sending your case to Teesside Crown Court for a plea in a case management hearing on August 5th, end quote. So sorry, they do their stuff different there.
Kind of like New York. New York does their things weird too. Their actual like Supreme Court is their appellate court and vice versa. It's really strange.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to follow and
Yeah.
their little procedure. But Sarah's case was like quickly dropped from the trial, though. But Simon was still standing trial at Teesside Crown Court in yeah, for the murder or manslaughter of his daughter. Now, he denied both charges. Isn't that interesting that they charged him immediately with manslaughter and murder or murder? Like they just did both, like whichever one
Sticks?
sticks. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people do that here, right?
No.
I didn't think so. Okay. So he denied both charges and gave different accounts of what might have happened on that night. Prosecutor Mark McCone, KC, I don't know what KC stands for after the name. I don't know. But he said that paramedics were called to the family home in Darlington, where they discovered Scarlett wounded on the kitchen floor. He said, quote, "Scarlett bled to death in her own home," end quote.
Mm.
McCone said a 999 call, which is their 911, was made by Scarlett's mother, Sarah, and she told the operator that her partner had thrown something at their daughter and he didn't realize. So, okay. Simon told the paramedic that came to the house that his daughter had lunged towards him during play fighting. And the paramedic said that Scarlett died at 11:50 p.m., about an hour after they arrived. PC Adam Tobling, I don't know what PC stands for, prosecutor or something, maybe? I don't know. He told the court that he saw the parents sitting together and both had blood on their hands and clothing and were visibly upset. So Sarah said that Simon picked up the spatula and didn't realize the knife was with it. The police
Mm.
stated that Simon, they were cooking tea, they were mucking about, playing around, and started throwing objects at each other. He added that they were intoxicated from drinking wine after a nice day watching football, which is soccer there, just so you know. Both Simon and Sarah didn't realize she was hurt until she yelled. And Simon told officers, quote, "It wasn't even hard. It was nothing I don't understand," end quote. It had to be because she died, right? Now, however, the prosecutor said that the depth of the stab wound in Scarlett's chest was 11 centimeters, which is 4.3 inches, and damaged her heart. And he said the prosecution case was that the wound was not caused by a thrown weapon and that the knife must have been firmly in the defendant's hand when she was stabbed. Basically, her fatal injury could have only been caused by a knife that was held and used with force.
And that's the thing. You can tell that by the actual wound itself, especially the
Right.
depth. And
Yeah.
it would depend, obviously, it would depend on how he's throwing, what type of knife it is, all that. But
Mhm.
they're going to be able to tell you if it was a mucking around situation or not.
Exactly. And they're saying no way.
Mm-mm.
No way. The forensic pathologist, Jennifer Bolton, told the court kitchen knives were not designed to be thrown, and the blade would have had strike at a 90-degree angle to pass through Scarlett's pajama top into her chest. Otherwise, it would have rebounded off. I don't know. The defense said that the couple loved their daughter, their only child, with all their hearts. He said, quote, "He had no wish or desire to harm her. They had been messing around in the kitchen in a normal, playful way, and Simon Vickers suddenly realized that Scarlett had been injured. He
Mm.
will bear moral responsibility for his daughter's death for the rest of his life," end quote. The only other person in the house that night was Scarlett's mother, Sarah, who had been Simon's partner for 27 years. And she gave evidence for the defense, claiming that Simon would never hurt their daughter. She is sticking by his side. A high court judge, Mr. Justice Cotter, said Simon Vickers would serve at least 15 years in jail for killing 14-year-old Scarlett. The jury deliberated for 13 hours before finally finding Simon guilty of murder by
Mm.
a 10-2 majority. During sentencing, the judge said that he was sure that the defendant had lied throughout and killed Scarlett in the moment of anger. He stated, quote, "It went from an ordinary, happy family Friday night to tragedy within seconds due to what must have been your loss of temper," end quote.
How did we prove that?
I don't know. I guess the maybe the knife what the pathologist said, but I don't know. The prosecution did
Mm.
not offer a motive for the murder,
Mm.
only that he was lying to the jury and that he may have been irritated by his daughter's behavior that night. The judge accepted that Simon was devastated by Scarlett's death and was a broken man. He said, quote, "Only you know what happened in the kitchen that night. Your beloved daughter deserved the truth, and you have not given it," end quote. As a recap, prior to Scarlett's death that day, and this is some of this new information and some of it's not, Simon had smoked a joint and consumed at least 4 glasses of red wine. After watching football, soccer, on TV, he was in the kitchen with Scarlett and Sarah messing around. The play fighting began and throwing grapes, then tickling and nipping with kitchen tongs. During all of this, Scarlett was stabbed and bled to death. Simon had a conviction from more than 30 years ago when he was 19 for wounding with intent using a Stanley knife, for which he was sentenced to 2 years detention.
Come on.
I feel like that's reaching, but that's what the article said. Okay. Sarah and Simon's parents remained sure that he never meant to cause her harm. Neighbors of the family said that they were shocked about what happened. One resident said, quote, "It's just awful. They kept themselves to themselves, that family. I don't know anything more," end quote. Another neighbor described 14-year-old Scarlett as a canny lass. I had to Google that because I'm like, what does that even mean? And apparently it means a nice girl. They always said, quote, "It's absolutely awful. I just read about it. We used to see her going up and down the street, but we never talked," end quote. In March 2025, an article came out that kind of addressed what everybody wanted to know, and that is, how could Sarah Hall support the man who was convicted of murdering her daughter? Sarah said, quote, "I know he'd never harm Scarlett. How can I blame him for an accident when I know he's in as much pain as I am? If I thought he'd done it deliberately, then no, I wouldn't have been here doing this interview. I would have protected her with my life, as would he," end quote. She said that evening, she and her daughter were throwing grapes in each other's mouths, having fun. Then Simon joined in, and as she was busy draining off the pasta in the sink, Simon and Scarlett were mucking about by the back door. What happened next is still confusing to her, but she's certain it was not criminal. During the play fight, Sarah says she accidentally nipped Simon with the kitchen tongs. He reacted, and Scarlett jokingly called him a wimp. He said, quote, "How could you like it?" or "How would you like it?" end quote, and swiped the tongs across the worktop towards Scarlett. A kitchen knife was placed next to the tongs to cut the garlic bread, and Sarah believes the utensil caught the knife and wedged it against a granite chopping board, leaving the blade protruding out. At the same moment, according to Sarah, Scarlett moved towards her dad, perhaps to grab the tongs, and ran on to the blade. Her daughter cried, "Ow," and blood started to pour from her side. Sarah grabbed a tea towel to try and stem the bleeding, and her daughter fell to the floor. Simon took over, and Sarah called 999. Now remember, Simon initially said that he hurled a knife instead of what he thought was a spatula. And then he also told paramedics and the police at the scene that Scarlett had lunged towards him and the blade just went in. So he has given a couple different, I don't know, explanations to her death. Anyway, Sarah described Scarlett as the girl who always made them laugh. She was bursting with energy, beautiful, sassy, and was becoming an incredible young woman. Regarding Simon's sentencing and the judge's remarks about his flash of anger that night, Sarah said that there was never a flash of anger. She said, quote, "I was there that night. There were no arguments. There was no temper, no shouting. It's just been a never-ending nightmare," end quote. She also addressed the online speculation on social media that Simon must have been a controlling and abusive partner. But she said that he was never an abusive partner. She said that Simon was understanding, comforting, and supportive. Sarah dreams about Scarlett every night,
Oh,
remembering each morning that she's really gone. She's only been back to that house 3 times since her daughter's death. It was once a happy house with memories everywhere. Now it's just a shell. She's left Scarlett's room the way it was left on that horrific day. What do you think? Was her death as a result of the moment of rage, or was it really a freak accident? I discovered a discussion taking place on Reddit about this, and here is what the community was saying. Someone said, "Yeah, I don't blame the jury at all. This sounds like pure bullshit on the parents' part." Another person said, "I agree. Previous articles when the court case was in progress revealed that dad had told multiple different stories about how his daughter had been accidentally stabbed. It's also effed up that her mom is supporting him, including backing up his story in court. Luckily, the jury concluded he was talking shit and found him guilty of Scarlett's murder." Someone said, "It takes a surprising amount of force to get a knife into a person, much less a kitchen knife used for garlic bread. Just drop a kitchen knife onto a watermelon and see how far you get." Someone else said, "I don't understand how his wife, the victim's mother, could be so adamant it was an accident when all the evidence says otherwise. She claims her back was turned at the point of the stabbing. She also initially said that they were throwing knives when it first happened, then changed it to throwing grapes. I could be wrong about that because it's from my memory. I haven't reread all the same articles. Also, the final alibi of him mistaking the knife for pair tongs is hardly a defense. Why did he think flinging a pair of tongs would be acceptable either?" Another person said, "The two main questions are: one, why murder her after 14 years bringing her up? Two, why did the wife support him? Probably the oddest murder I've ever read about." Somebody responded to that and said, "It is unusual. One parent murdering a child happens, but rarely do both participate or assist in covering it up. If they do, it's usually following years of documented abuse."
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. Another person said, "I think the mom has to be complacent, at least to some degree. She said she was in the room when it happened, but didn't see the actual stabbing because she had her back to them. The thing is, even if she did have her back turned, Scarlett would surely have made a noise upon being stabbed, which would make the mom turn around fast. She would know, for example, whether her husband was far from her daughter or near, whether his hand was on the knife, how they were positioned in relation to each other, etc. If he was throwing it from a distance, as he at one point claimed, there's no way he could have got to Scarlett in the time that it would have taken to whip around after hearing her child scream in pain. Maybe she knows why he did it. Maybe she doesn't. But since she seems to be covering for him, I guess she must at least have some idea of what she's covering for. It's possible that Scarlett was too shocked or unable to speak to her mother to tell her, or she was able to say it and her mother didn't report it, or Scarlett already knew that her mother was complacent in the abuse. I think whatever happened was premeditated wasn't premeditated, but his impulse control and judgment were impaired through intoxication. And in a panic, he moved to silence her from sharing something he had done. The way both parents attempt to normalize drunk knife play with a child is bizarre and makes you wonder what else was normal in that house. And a couple more. Somebody said, my take, reading the description of the mucking around that was going on, it sounds like both parties were taking things a bit far. The dad had a flash of anger and in his inebriated state with lowered pulse control, he stabbed her, either with intent or he grabbed the knife to scare her and misjudge things. Again, because he was drunk and stoned. He probably immediately regretted his actions and immediately started lying to try to minimize the level of responsibility and intent he had. His story sounds like that of a kid who has gone too far and hurt a sibling during play. I didn't even touch the knife. I kind of accidentally threw it, but not really threw it. I kind of swiped it by total accident and slipped out of my hand. I wasn't even going for the knife. I was going for the tongs. I didn't even know there was a knife. I think the mom saw what actually happened. She may not even have been in the room. There was a hint of contempt in a way that the mom talks about Scarlett, referring to Scarlett calling her dad a wimp while they were mucking around, and the mom said she's called me far worse. I suspect the relationship between them was strained, and it often is with teen girls and their moms. And ultimately, the mom decided her loyalty was to her partner she's been with for 27 years over the daughter she's had for 14 years. She is probably in denial over the possibility the dad did this. Lastly, someone said, I'm a mortician. I've pierced abdomens with trocars, Trocars. I don't know what that is. So I can confidently say with experience that the amount of force you need to actually stab someone is not something you can really do on accident. Whatever that
I
tool
agree with that.
yeah, whatever tool she's talking about, she said the tips are sharp and usually have to give it some force to pierce through the skin, muscles, whatever. Ridiculous. He thought this was a believable story. There's so much discussion under this Reddit. The
Okay,
link is in the show notes. So
I have a philosophy also.
please tell me what you think, because that's everybody's opinion here.
So first of all, there have been times where Lucy and I are playing and like we'll bonk heads or something and we end
Mm-hmm.
up crying. We both end up crying, or like we'll be tickling each other and then all of a sudden her head flings back and catches my front teeth. That's happened before. You know, I mean, stupid things like that, but
Yeah.
never. It's kind of like running with scissors. You don't have a knife. Now, I don't know what it feels like to be smoking marijuana and drinking a bunch of drink. Well, 4 glasses of wine, depending on the pour, but 4 glasses of wine usually equals a bottle. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Especially for me who doesn't drink. So I have a sip and I'm wasted.
Right.
So you know what I mean? I don't know what that feels like. I've never done that. So couldn't tell you, but I can't imagine that being good. And, if you're mucking around or, messing around, anything can happen. You know what I mean? That's how
Yeah.
accidents occur. However, I totally agree that there had to have been force behind it. There's no way he could have thrown something unless it was a Death Star or some shit. It's not going to
Right.
do that. That's
Yeah.
not what's going to happen. And 4 inches, that's depth. That's force. And they can tell, the forensic pathologist can tell exactly what angle, they can tell all of
Yes.
that, you know? So no, I don't believe that. I do believe that there was force behind it, whether or not he meant to or not. Who's to say after all of this happens, he doesn't threaten Sarah?
Yeah, and I'll post the knife too because it doesn't look like a bread knife to me, just so you know. Because, I just want to say that because they were saying they were cutting garlic bread with it, but it's not a bread knife. It looks like a steak knife to me.
Which I I don't use the serrated knives for bread. I use the big sharp one because I destroy the bread when I use the serrated knife.
Yeah.
So I mean, does it look like your average steak knife? Did it ever give like how many inches it is? Is it like a 9-inch steak knife? Obviously, it's not a paring knife because paring knives are smaller than 4 inches.
I don't
But
know how big it is, but do you have your phone with you?
I do.
I'm
I
gonna
just,
message it to you right now so you can just see what the knife looks like that I'm talking about.
I mean, who's to say he didn't threaten her after the fact and say, if you say anything about this, I'm going to kill you? You know,
Yeah.
whether or not he was mucking about or not, he was probably scared as shit.
I sent it to you. And you got to think they said what it went in 4 inches deep.
That's that little knife, no? Oh, here's the inches. I see it. So this knife, what? Oh, shit, I can't, it's not close enough. They have the scale on there, but I can't read the scale. Hang on.
Oh, yeah. Maybe if you type in,
2 inches. 2 inches. 2 inches thick. Hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4 inches. You're probably looking at 12 inches, maybe. I think I have one hanging up. There's an inch.
yeah, I don't know how big the knife.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The blade itself is roughly 9 inches to the handle.
Oh, so he stuck him as half of it in.
Yes. Is that a
Hmm.
fingerprint on there too?
I don't know.
I don't know what that is on there. I don't know if it's
Mm-mm. I
a
don't know.
droplet. If it's a droplet, it's almost a 90-degree droplet, but it could just be a fingerprint too that ran.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell by looking at it. I will post the knife on Facebook so you can see what it is that we're talking about. In the articles that I researched, it didn't like go into the evidence and what was on it and like how long it was, only how far it went into her chest.
I'm also surprised that they haven't appealed, that he hasn't appealed this because I don't feel like the evidence suggests that at all.
I think has appealed it,
Okay, I was gonna say because
or
it would be silly not to, and I'm not saying that he's innocent. I'm
no,
not
no, no.
saying any of that.
And she's begging the judge to let them come home so they can grieve together and how this is a nightmare and all that stuff. But it's such a fresh case that I think that it's one that will definitely make the headlines. If I've come across this now, I think if there's an appeal or a different judgment on it, I think we'll hear about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Even though it's in a different place, I don't know. It's interesting because there's so many different takes on what people think really happened that day. Because maybe he really was angry and he did it and didn't realize the magnitude of it until it was done and
Yeah,
then minimized it so he could cope with it mentally that he did this. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
yeah,
It's weird, but I felt like it was definitely worthy of a discussion. So if you guys want to discuss this one, this would be a great one to discuss on Facebook. Start a post. You can do that, right? Anybody can do that. I know there's Operation Evil community page where people can make a post.
yeah.
I
This
just would like
is
to know.
that one's definitely interesting.
Yeah. So that is all I have for you on that case. And I did a lot of research. I pulled everything I could from everywhere about it. But
That
anyways,
was good. That was good.
that will do it for this episode. I'm sorry if this one was short. I don't know. Don't know if it was or not. But if you want more episodes, you know where to go. Our Patreon. The show, it's in the show notes, the link where you can get on there. We have 41 or so bonus episodes on there ready for you to binge. They have a new feature where I can you can basically purchase and to listen to a particular episode, if there's one you're wanting to hear for sure, that and you're not a member, you're not in a tier,
Hmm.
you can purchase to listen to that one episode as a one-time thing.
That's cool.
So I've made a couple episodes like that, maybe ones that are recent that somebody might have wanted to hear that particular one. Um, yeah. So, anyways, go check that out. Yeah,
Hmm.
like her stuff.
It's a good little find you got there.
Yeah, yeah. So, anyways, that will do it, and we'll be back next time with a new episode. Goodbye.
Goodbye.